Webinar for you today. We have Nancy Rexigal with Syngenta talking about a new product. So Nancy, take it away.
Okay, thank you. I'm really excited to introduce you to Syngenta's latest innovation in plant protection, and it's called Postiva. I have a short video here that kind of help explains it, and then we'll go into a little bit more detail.
Postiva fungicide is powered by a unique combination of two modes of action. Adepidin technology, known as pidoflumethafen, the first member of a subclass of succinate dehydrogenase inhibitors, or SDHIs, in FRAC Group 7, and difenoconazole, a non-growth regulating demethylation inhibitor, or DMI, in FRAC Group 3. Postiva is registered for use on ornamentals, conifers, non-bearing fruit and nut plants, and certain vegetable plants grown for retail sales. It can be used in greenhouses, nurseries, interior scapes, and commercial landscapes. Engineered for broad spectrum and long-lasting protection, Postiva rapidly establishes a rain-fast reservoir within the plant's wax layer that slowly penetrates the tissue, translocating through the plant and providing preventive and curative control. Postiva delivers strong protection against key foliar diseases, including black spot, botrytis, boxwood blight, powdery mildews, rust, numerous leaf spot diseases, and soil-borne diseases such as Fusarium, Rhizoctonia, and Sclerotinia. Postiva can also provide suppression of bacterial diseases caused by Pseudomonas and Xanthomonas. With two modes of action, Postiva offers a strong defense against multiple pathogens while helping delay the development of resistance. Using it in rotation with daconil, mural, and palladium fungicides can create a robust disease and resistance management program. Learn more about how to perfect your program with Postiva at greencastonline.com/Postiva.
So you can see why we're very excited about bringing this new fungicide to the ornamental market. It definitely has a unique spectrum. It gives us some really strong control over some difficult diseases, Fusarium being one of them. The industry could use another tool to help manage this disease, especially in the garden monocrop. Black spot on roses, extremely strong on this disease as well. And one of the game changers here is the bacterial disease suppression that we see with Postiva. Also works really well on the boxwood diseases, not only boxwood blight, but also the anthracnose that is causing the dieback. Really strong on powdery mildew and rust. So we cover over 40 diseases. This does have two new active ingredients that have not been in our ornamental market, and a different combination of FRAC groups that we've not seen before. So it is a combination of 3+7. And I'll talk a little bit about how each active ingredient works. It is really a wonderful tool that will help with resistance management and also with rotations, because there are a lot of 7-Eleven products out there and solo AIs. And this one really brings something different, and with the resistance management already built into this fungicide. So this is what it looks like. Again, it's composed of adepidin technology, which is pidoflumethafen in FRAC Group 7, difenoconazole, which is a demethylation inhibitor. This demethylation inhibitor, however, does not cause any growth regulating effects like you typically see with others. There's no stunting, there's no crimping of the leaves. Sometimes if you make too many applications of myclobutanil, the leaves don't expand properly, they get kind of hard. You don't see any of that with the difenoconazole component. It is a soluble concentrate with a 12-hour REI and a caution signal work. It is labeled very broadly. You can use this product in the greenhouse, in outdoor nurseries, and field-grown plants, the conifer group, residential and commercial landscapes, as well as interior plantscapes. So it has a quite broad use label. Also, as you heard, it can be used not only on ornamentals, but on the non-bearing fruit and nuts and vegetable plants that are grown for retail sales. And I'll show you a list in a minute. This product is also quite flexible in the type of applications that you would use it for. You can spray it, including aerial application. You can apply it as a soil drench through chemigation and through auto fog systems. The use rates are from 10 to 28 ounces, but I will tell you from the start that you will be using it probably more like 10 to 14 fluid ounces for most diseases. You may get up to 20 for like something like Polytotricum, but most of the uses are going to be about 14 ounces. And you are allowed 64 fluid ounces per acre per year per crop. So you are allowed to use it on certain vegetables, and this is just a snapshot. It has the cucurbit group, of course, which includes the melons and the pickles and cucumbers and such, fruiting vegetables like eggplant, peppers, and of course, tomatoes. So I want to tell you a little bit about this fungicide and its components. And adapidin technology is really the next generation of SDHI development. And it's actually truly an innovation by design. What Syngenta did was look across the current SDHI fungicides that are currently on the market. They looked at what were some of the strong strengths that each of them have, because they all work a little different, and pulled that together into one molecule. So it not only delivers the power and the control that you need, but gives you broad spectrum and very long lasting residual control. This product can be applied easily on a 14-day interval. The only exception would be if you were applying it for an active botrytis situation, you might want to bring that down to a 7-day, but typically most applications can be done on a 14-day interval with excellent control. One of the things that it does is it works on preventing the spores from germinating. And you can see in this picture, the upper left here is the adapidin, and it just stops that spore from germinating. It just stops it in its tracks. These are some of the others. This is fluopyram. You can see it keeps germinating and growing. This is boscalid. So this is what is in pageant. That fluopyram would be what would be in broad form. Here's carboxin, that's an ag product. And here is the check. So it works just very quickly on inhibiting those spores from germinating and penetrating into the tissue. So how do they work together? Together, the difenoconazole is the demethylation inhibitor. And what we see is, both products have systemic and translaminar activity, but difenoconazole is more systemic, more movement with difenoconazole. So what you see is immediately after the spray application, it kind of gets in and it gets into this tissue, into the plant tissue. Okay, some gets into the wax layer, but a majority of it gets into the tissue, and that's what provides the curative activity that the difenoconazole provides. If you look at the adapidin actually binds to the waxy cuticle and then moves in. Now it still does it quickly. Here's 1 day and it's already in the tissue. But you can see here that you're getting that outer layer of protection. So this is where it's stopping the spores from germinating, stopping penetration, whereas difenoconazole is getting in there and stopping the mycelial growth. Just to look at this through some additional biokinetic studies, if you, each AI was actually labeled with C14. So you can actually see where the active ingredient goes when it's put on the plant. And in this first box, this is difenoconazole. So the drops, the red drops, are where the actual active ingredient was applied to the leaf surface. And you can see over time, it moves systemically. You can see it in the veins, and it's moving to other parts of the leaf that were never touched by the fungicide. And the same thing happens with adepidin. You can see the drops were placed here, and it's moving up the edge of the tissue slowly. However, if you wet the petiole, those are the bottom pictures. If you're actually putting the drops on the petiole that's down here, it moves very quickly into the xylem and systemically moves into the tissue. So you can see here, again, moving through the veins and the tissue, and adepidin moves even faster. It gets in there and it moves, and it's coating a leaf surface that never received the fungicide. So it has some very unique properties. Now, there definitely is some added value when you put two AIs together. And we've seen that a lot in the 7-11 group, right? And basically what that does is you see enhanced disease control, because now you have two AIs with different pathways that are controlling the same pathogen. It broadens the spectrum of disease control, because there's times where each AI will overlap on some diseases, and sometimes where they each control different diseases. So that broadens the spectrum. And also, when you have two active ingredients working on the same pathogen, it's very much a very strong resistance management strategy, because you're not relying on one mode of action to control that disease. The formulations have also been optimized as opposed to mixing things together yourself. So you get better plant safety, good tank mix stability, and better active ingredient delivery. So I know everybody's familiar with the FRAC codes, and you know that you're not supposed to, overuse any one FRAC code. But I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about how this fungicide works, because it's kind of interesting and we often forget. So FRAC group 7, our adepidin molecule, works to inhibit the respiration of the fungus at complex 2 in the mitochondria. So it's cutting off the energy to the fungus. FRAC group 3, however, works in a different way. It actually prevents this ergosterol component that's part of the fungal cell membrane from actually being incorporated into the membrane. So you get a leaky membrane. And basically, when you have a leaky membrane, the fungus is, literally withers away and dies. So this fungus has a structural aspect. It's working on the structural part of the fungus, in its integrity, if you will, and also on the energy of the fungus. So some nice complementary and different modes of action there. So just wanted to give you a quick snapshot of some of the diseases that are controlled by Postiva. And Postiva controls over 40 diseases, but I tried to list some of the more important ones here. But you can see there's a lot of leaf spot diseases. It's very strong on the leaf spots. And both AIs do work on these leaf spots, so that's nice. Black spot, huge for rose production, right? Very difficult disease to control. Anthracnose, botrytis, this even works on botrytis. Both AIs work on powdery mildew, on rust and scab. And I don't even have rust on here, but they both work on those diseases. So that brings a nice resistance management strategy also when you're making the application. And then bacterial disease suppression. This is really, again, the game changer. We see really excellent bacterial disease suppression when you use Postiva as a spray. And we're also looking at some drenches now. It does control Fusarium and Rhizoc and Sclerotinia. And we do have some trials actually on Ralstonia. So a very kind of broad and unique spectrum of activity with this fungicide. So just to share some of the data with you, it's going to be a really important product to use during mum production. You can see here, this was a trial that was done, and the fungicide was actually applied 21 days before the plants were ever inoculated. And so if you understand the way Fusarium works, especially in garden mums, the infection actually starts in July, right? You have these pots outside, you planted them up in June. They're sitting out there. July is really hot, but we get a lot of rain. And that drying and wetting compromises the root system and enables Fusarium to enter the plant and move up into the plant, into the crown. And so the infection starts in July, but we don't see the symptoms until usually mid-August, or sometimes, almost right before we sell the crop. And that's because it takes a while for that fungus to move to block the xylem in some of the stems, and then you start to see the problem. So typically you do see it late. So in this trial, we put the fungicide on, waited 21 days before we even inoculated, and then let it go to see, how well this would protect the crop. And you can see here, this is Postiva at 10 ounce. We have it at 21 ounces and providing some excellent control 71 days after the treatment. Here, Orchestra was in the trial, and you can see it held on, but then it broke. And that's usually what you typically see at around 71, 75 days, is you start to see the disease come through. This is just a picture of the plants during the trial, how they were looking. This was another trial that was done by Gary Chestagner out in Washington State. And he looked at Postiva versus Empress in this trial. And he used a grading scale of, 0, no disease, to 10. And you can see here, again, Empress didn't hold up. Here's the non-inoculated control. There's always going to be some Fusarium that you get naturally into the crop. And this was the inoculated control. And again, you can see some really nice protection there. That was one treatment that was applied. This is on Liriope. This is a crop ground cover that is also prone to getting problems with Fusarium. And you can see here, this was done by Steve Jeffers in Clemson. And he looked at Postiva, he looked at Orchestra, T-methyl. Now T-methyl is a product that's fairly inexpensive and has been used for many years for control of Fusarium, but it simply doesn't work anymore. And it doesn't really work well on Rhizoctonia either. It was great back in the day, but you can see here as a drench, not performing well. They also looked at Astune and broad form, even making 2 applications on a 14-day interval. And so Postiva, you can see there, has the power. For all you rose growers out there in the Midwest, this product does an excellent job controlling black spot on rose. You can see that 41 days after treatment, here's the control with 20% disease, and you can see this staying under 5. We had mural in there also. This was another trial that was done out in California. And again, you can see this was a severe infection with over 90% infection rate. And here's Postiva at 14 and 21 ounces, just keeping that disease down. I would mention that, so in addition to black spot on rose, you have powdery mildew, you have rust, you have Cercospora, and you have xanthomonas leaf spot. So this really is an excellent tool for use in rose production. Boxwood blight. This is a disease that kind of reared its ugly head a number of years ago, and we're still seeing it in production. There's also another boxwood disease caused by an anthracnose that's also starting to cause problems in the boxwood family. And actually, Postiva works well on both of them. Here in this trial, Daconil was used as a standard because we know how well Daconil works on boxwood blight. And you can see here Postiva at the 18-ounce rate, giving, great control and comparable control to Daconil. So this is a product that can be used in rotation for this disease. I wanted to share some information with you on the bacterial diseases. So this is Xanthomonas leaf spot on zinnia. And if you're growing zinnia for bedding plant production, you may have noticed a leaf spot in addition to some powdery mildew that can creep in on the zinnias. And the leaf spot, sometimes it's alternaria, but often even more times it's Xanthomonas because it's seed-borne and it just comes in with the seed. And so this was a trial looking at Xanthomonas control and the number of leaf spots per plant. And you can see here across all rates of Postiva, we have 10, 14, 21, all providing excellent control against this disease. We also had in here Daconil ZN. We do know Daconil Weather Stick, Daconil Ultrex, and the ZN all work to help suppress bacterial diseases. We're not going to be amending our label on that, but we do know that it does provide activity. Here's Champ, that's a copper-based product. And again, you can see Postiva is as good or better than the copper. And Chase did some trial on hibiscus, looking at Xanthomonas leaf spot. And again, she looked at clean grow, she looked at copper, a camelot treatment, Aliette and Areca, which are phosphonates. And you can see one was no disease, and here's Postiva at 14 ounces, providing some really great control. This is Pseudomonas on magnolia. Again, here's the copper treatment, and here's the range of Postiva treatments. So we are very confident that Postiva can be used in a solid rotation with coppers to help provide and protect against bacterial disease infections. Nothing is going to cure the bacterial disease infection, but it definitely can protect plants from getting it if you get it on early. So this is a trial that Dave Norman did on Xanthomonas on geranium. And actually, we're actually seeing a problem on geranium right now in the industry. And so this, anyway, he looked at Postiva, he looked at cease, again, saw some good control. He did a second trial in 2020. And again, Postiva at all rates was doing an excellent job. Here's the copper and the Daconil also providing really good suppression. So if you were to encounter this disease in production, it's a one spot stop type of disease. You have to, rogue out the infected material, get it out of the greenhouse and sanitize. But once you're confident that you have removed the infected material, you can then use Postiva in rotation with copper to help prevent any additional spread or transfer to the healthy geraniums in case there is some lingering around in the greenhouse. But again, if you see it, those plants really do need to be thrown away. So this product is extremely strong on powdery mildew. Both active ingredients work on it. And you can see here, this is the low rate of 10 ounces, providing excellent control. You can see in the background of the slide on the right, there's some control plants behind there. They're all kind of together on this bench, and the Postiva treatments are just holding up great. These were treatments made on a 14-day interval. So this is different. These other products that are currently on the market, you have to spray them on a 7 to 10 day. It's really hard to, stretch them out to 14 days. This is a product you can stretch out to 14 days and possibly even 21 if you're getting them on early before you have any infection. We also have some trial results looking at applications through cold fog. Many of you have auto fog and cold fog systems, and you can see here that Postiva did an excellent job even with a cold fog treatment. This was rust, just showing you control of rust on sunflower. And of course, botrytis, every greenhouse and nursery runs into this. And although Postiva, is broad and very strong on these other diseases, it also has excellent activity on botrytis as well. So you can see here how it compares to Astune. Mary Hausbeck did some trials with this, looking at different rates. And again, some really good control. This was another trial she did. This time she put broad form in there. And so I just wanted to point out, so what you see with this product is, with botrytis, 7 days, usually you can go 7, maybe 10 days. It's going to provide some very good disease suppression, but then you need to reapply. So this was just one application. So after 14 days, you see both products break. But after 21 days, you can see that broad form really takes off here, while there's still some lingering protection here with the Postiva. I know there's a lot of hydrangea grown out your area, and you can see that this also does an excellent job controlling Cercospora and also Corynespora, that are two leaf spot diseases that occur on the hydrangea. So I mentioned roses before, and one of the things that I tried to do is to help put programs together to help growers know how to position different products at different times where they're going to perform their best. It's kind of a guideline, a framework. And you can see here when it comes to roses, Postiva really can control everything except for perhaps downy mildew. I mean, I could have put it down here in the Rhizoctonia, but you don't need it because I really want you to use it as a spray, because that's where it's going to provide the most benefit to you. So in a greenhouse situation, looking at roses or perhaps mini roses, you can see how I have positioned Postiva. The targets that I'm shooting for are over here on the left. You can see the alternation of FRAC codes and then the treatments. And you can see I've got, of course, you're going to do a drench first with Subdue and Mural, not only for Pythium, but that Subdue drench is going to help protect against downy mildew because it is systemic. The Mural is in there for control of Rhizoctonia. And then Postiva would be in there as a spray for your general fungicide application. And you can see I have it in here week 2, and then you would put in week 3 and 4, perhaps something for downy mildew. And then week 5, I have it in again. So that's a 3-week interval, but it'll hold up. And then in between, we have Palladium, again, FRAC code 9 and 12, and then rotating to a Mural, a 7-11, before going back to the 7+3. Now for bedding plants, we have a similar program for bedding plants. You can see here it's positioned in a similar manner. This is an agronomic program, so not only do I address the diseases that you're going to get in bedding plant production, but also the insect and mite control that you might need. And again, these are kind of put together as an example of how to position different products and their timings so that you're covered and you don't have to worry and your production is going to be successful. So again, these are available on our Greencast site. You can access them there. We have agronomic programs built for bedding plants, for the mums, for poinsettia production, again, to be used as a guideline. As far as plant safety, Postiva has been found to be very safe across just about everything we applied it on. The only thing we have observed is that at this 4x rate and a little bit at the 2x rate, we did see some spotting on Celosia. So the 2x rate what we do is typically with a 1X, we take the highest rate of the fungicide, and then we do a 1X, a 2X, and a 4X. And so this is a picture of the 4X because it had the most damage. So this is 112 ounces of Postiva. You will never use it at that rate unless you, by mistake, don't measure correctly. So we did see this at the 4X rate, but that's 112 ounces. You're going to be using it on Celosia at 10 and 14 ounces. So you will not encounter this, but I did want to point it out. We did also see it on Nicotiana. The other thing we had seen is on petunias, a little discoloration of the red flowers can happen with the spray of Postiva, but nothing too terrible. Tank mix compatibility, we have looked at this across many of the products that, from our standpoint that you might want to mix them with. I also have Segway in here, and you can see they were all compatible with agitation. No issues with compatibility. For PPE, applicators and other handlers are going to obviously have long sleeve shirt and long pants, shoes and socks, and waterproof gloves. But the mixer loaders and the applicators that are applying this with a handgun in the greenhouse must also wear this NIOSH approved particulate face piece. And you see it over here on the right. It looks like something you might wear to protect yourself from COVID. So it's really nothing that's too restrictive or difficult to wear, but it is recommended when you're making these applications. This product is packaged in a 28-ounce bottle. Again, it's a soluble concentrate, and there's 4 bottles in a case. So this is priced at $3.20 an ounce. And you can see that per 100 gallons, the price points there. You will be using this product primarily in this 10 to 14 ounce range. So it makes it really quite affordable, especially when most of your applications will be on a 14-day interval. So you can cut that number in half. And Chase has put together a poster. She did some work with Postiva, but she also, gets studies from other researchers that are around. And so she put together this poster with some rates, rate ranges for those diseases. Because I know when you look at the bottle, it's 10 to 28, seems rather broad. But again, like I said, most of you will start probably at 14 ounces. But you're going to stay in that rate range there. But this is a quote from her, and she said, Postiva represents one of the broadest spectrum fungicide bactericides we have seen in the past 20 years. It has been extremely effective on Fusarium diseases, and the added benefit of bacterial leaf spot control adds an unusual feature, and it truly does. So we really are pleased to have found such a great molecule or developed such a great molecule that's going to provide the broad disease spectrum that it has with that long residual activity. So I'm going to open it up for questions. I don't know if I can't see anybody. So some of you are going to have to help me if there's any questions. But this product, I'm often asked, well, what is this product going to replace? Or, certainly it's going to displace some of the solo AIs, right? Because it's got the, it's very strong. So it could displace that. It could be used as a replacement spray for a 7-Eleven. It actually could be used in rotation with the 7-Elevens as long as you position it appropriately. For outdoor nursery use, we recommend a rotation of Concert, then Mural, then Palladium, and then Postiva. And all of those represent different modes of action. And so you really have some nice products to choose from. Again, that's going to give you some good residual activity.